And welcome back. We're at the Los Angeles Athletic Club for the WPH Simple Green Race for 8. Emmett Peixoto, Watsonville, California, implanted into Boston, Massachusetts, and Aaron Garner, living in Portland, Oregon, who's been implanted there from San Antonio, Texas. My name is Dave Vincent alongside David Fink. This is a qualifier final. Aaron Garner's worked his way to this position to face former #1 ranked pro Emmett Peixoto, and our referee is Vic Perez.
This is game 1 for the qualifying round. 0, play 0.
We'll have Omar Lemus, who is our head camera operator, tell Vic Perez, our referee, to move to the right or to the left. But certainly the spot that he's in is not going to work. Although I know that you're a big Sony Wii fan and you probably like seeing avatars on the screen a lot, but
Side out.
Actually only played Sony Wii once. Didn't really understand it.
well, it's pretty tough to
0,
figure
play
out how to
0.
Yeah.
swing that paddle.
Sorry I didn't play more. I was watching TV that day.
Point.
And there's a point for Aaron Garner. He's the first one on the scorecard here.
What's interesting about Emmett is that he really starts moving better
1,
as the
play
match
0.
progresses. That's a ball I believe Emmett picks up midway through this first game or late in this match. It seems like it takes him a little while to get his feet moving, and once again there, it didn't have much footwork. And look at Aaron pushing Emmett around the court now.
Side out.
Ooh, strange call right there from the ref.
No complaint from Aaron, and he had a good play on that ball. It's a nice shot
0,
from Emmett,
play
but
1.
it came back to the middle of the court.
Emmett
Hit
really
you?
lazily
Okay, replay, check ball.
hitting that serve, and that ball hits him on the way up, and kind of a late call
0,
from
play
Emmett on
1.
that. Usually the player lets you know about it immediately.
Nice
Well,
touch there from Emmett. Emmett's added that reverse down the left first serve that he said he didn't have before the
1,
shoulder
play
surgery.
1.
He said he couldn't hit the ball with the reverse before that shoulder surgery, and that's a very effective serve. As you see, Aaron setting it up twice in a row. You see the difference, though, now between Aaron's first match where he dominated Eddie Silveira, who really had no power, now playing against
2,
Emmett,
play
who's got
1.
a tremendous amount of power with his left hand.
Nice
and that
ball.
was 2 bounces.
Point.
And that's a shot that you don't see any pro player being able to hit with their offhand, moving towards that left side wall, taking a ball that's 2 inches high and drilling it
3, play
75 miles
1.
per hour, 2 inches high.
Point.
At least early here in this match, David, Emmett looks
4,
like
play
the
1.
top 5 player he was for many, many years. He's been
Point.
very sharp here. Aaron's really had no answer for it.
Five, play 1.
This is a 1-game match, 25. There's that reverse, Dave.
If you're Aaron there, you have to think that that ball is going to bounce into that left side wall, but it just straightens out as soon as it hits the floor. And Emmett now
Point.
just has an answer for everything that Aaron's doing. Aaron just drilled his
Foul?
best back wall shot there, and
Marcus,
Emmett
can you pass
hitting the
foul?
deck, but controlling that get and re-kill into that right corner.
This will be the last broadcast match of the afternoon as we make way for the blind draw that will happen after this one. Earlier today it was Chip Morales defeating Eric Hilgren, Vic Perez over Carlos Chavez, and Marcos Chavez defeating John Bike.
All right, resume play. 6, play 1.
Aaron Garner's going to need to get a little bit meaner here, Dave. He's
Point.
walking
First
around the
timeout
court like he's
scores,
dazed right now.
7-1,
Got
1 minute.
sort of a look of bewilderment about him, as Emmett Peixoto is just completely dominating play here. I think a lot of people here, Dave, surprised by this early game onslaught by Emmett, who has looked good, Dave, in his return to pro handball, but not quite this good. Aaron Garner looked like he was building some steam coming into this event. Looked good in his opening round win against Eddie Silveira. And as we mentioned, played Luis Moreno to a very close match just a couple weeks ago. But Emmett Peixoto on a different level right now. Emmett Peixoto knows, Dave, that he needs a win here in this event to qualify for Seattle.
7, play 1.
Emmett Peixoto has 7. Garner has 1. Here's a setup for Emmett with that left hand.
You look at Emmett, Dave, he's got only 6.5 race points thus far, but in his second pro event this year, second race event, he drew Charlie Shanks in the first round, lost in a very close tiebreaker. He could have won that match, would have played Dave Chapman next, and Dave Chapman was really not able to move at all in that match. I think Emmett would have won that match. That would have given him 6 points instead of 2, and then in the next stop, Dave, he drew myself, and he also lost another close tiebreaker there.
7, play 1.
He's one of those guys, Dave, with 6.5 points, but he could easily have 13 or 15 race points, which would put him in a really good position for Seattle. But as it is, he'll need to notch a win here. If he wants to qualify for Seattle.
Side out. One, play 7.
It's a difficult matchup for Aaron because Aaron is not one of these guys that kills the ball flat. He wins a lot of points by grinding his opponents out and on their errors, but Emmett Peixoto does not make a lot of errors, and he does make a lot of gets, so you really have to be able to put the ball down against Emmett.
2, play 7. Short.
Aaron had Emmett going the wrong way on that serve, but he came up a couple of inches short. That would have been an ace serve. And Aaron hits the mystery ball, was going for the 2-wall scoop safe pass there off the back wall with that ball right on the left side wall, but catches the front wall just about 6 inches from the right side wall, and the ball angles into that left wall, and it makes the error. And there's almost an identical shot. This time Emmett's able to fight it off and hit the 3-wall wraparound. That's a great kill shot from the Rock. Generates a lot of that power from the ground up using his legs.
7, play 3.
Wow, look at that left-handed snap kill shot from Aaron Garner. A little unorthodox, but
that was a slight miss hit. I think he was aiming for that, but he didn't catch it perfectly on his hand.
3, play 7.
Aaron Garner's at that age, Dave, when most handball players start to reach their prime. He's, I believe, 23. He's been around the game for a long time. He
7, play 3.
Diverted a little bit from handball in the last couple of years, got himself into MMA fighting and MMA training. But 42 concussions later, and he's decided to hang up his MMA
8, play 3.
gear and come back to handball. As you know, Dave, playing Emmett, you know that he's right-handed, but it's so hard to force yourself to play his right hand because you're telling yourself this guy's right-handed, but in fact his left hand is actually significantly better than his right.
9, play 3.
Score is 9-3. Aaron will be 25 in November. father, James Garner. Mom, Allison, watching back in San Antonio,
Set
Texas,
up.
watching their son take that shot around the revolving door for a side out. They had great news given earlier today. In case you just tuned in to live broadcast, San Antonio, Texas just got authorized to construct two three-wall courts and a one-wall court in downtown at a park
Short.
with some great genuous donations given by some of the local handball
Second
players.
serve.
Jim Garner, Ace Mallory. Another gentleman downstairs, I should say, down the street in San Antonio by the name of Joe Murphy was very instrumental in helping get this project off the ground. They'll break ground in about 6 months.
How long does it take to construct those courts, Dave?
Well, it's going to be about 6 months. They break ground
Set
now,
up.
6 months
okay.
from now.
Okay.
But it's been 6 years they've been working on this. They've had some major trials and tribulations. They were raising private funds to build a court in a public park. It's just been very difficult for these guys to get the approval from the city, and finally they did. So it's kind of like homecoming right now in San Antonio. They've been trying to get three-wall courts built for quite some time.
Point.
You see
10, play
Aaron
3.
Garner just a little upset with himself there. 10-3 is the score. Emmett Peixoto is in the service box. This is a qualifier final. After this, it'll be the blind draw. Dave, I know that you're going to get the pieces of paper ready and put them into the hat, and then we'll pull the names out in that private ceremony that will be conducted right after this final match.
Hold it. Wait. Hold it. 10, play 3.
And Emmett actually hitting that serve too well, as Aaron Garner just trying to get it back, but he catches the sidewall at the same time as he makes contact with the ball, Dave, and the ball just dropping about 3 feet lower than Aaron aimed, and it rolled out right in front of Emmett.
I thought that was... Huh?
Well, the ball was short to begin with.
I thought it was short. It was short, yeah. Is there any wet spots? No, on the floor.
The ball definitely slid on the floor there.
Yeah.
I think it slid, Dave, because it hit the line. And the lines are a little bit slicker sometimes if you hit them at a certain angle. That ball hit the line with the natural on it.
Well, let's watch this replay of how fast this ball... Wow. Could you imagine if you had the ability to hit every ball that picked up speed after it hit the ground? I mean, certainly that's what it looked like.
Well, these tennis players, Dave, actually aim for the lines on clay. And on hard courts, the ball skids on lines also. So perhaps that's a play that pro handball players will start using during the rallies.
I don't even know what to say.
Even I have to concede that what I was saying was absolutely ridiculous.
No, that's a... I think that's a replay. That counts? No, that's a replay. Replay.
Vic Perez trying to figure out, hey, it's a no bad bounce rule, but how do we do that?
10
that
plays,
counts.
4-10.
Well, okay, if it counts, who gets the point? Who gets the side out? I think it should just be a side out if it goes out, or a loss of a point depending on your position as a player. I know some players that want to play that serve and shoot game, and if they don't get into it, they just hit a ceiling ball as hard as they can and drive it right out of the court so they get a replay.
I thought you were able to see it.
Well, you accused Noddy Jr. of doing that exact play against Luis Moreno a couple years ago at the Jake Plummer event, which has a similar court to this, and he said, no, I just, overhit the ceiling shot and the ball went out of the court. You made it seem like he just was tired of the rally.
Well, I just
hit a
happened
home run
to
on
be
purpose.
Watching him warm up before the match, and he was trying to hit balls out of the court, and I said, what are you doing? He said, well, this might come in handy later. And it did.
Yes. Noddy actually winning that match 21-19, 21-19 after he built 19-10 leads in both games against Luis Moreno.
Well, he got bored.
And now it's
10 plays 4.
gone from a one-sided rivalry in
Short.
favor of Nadia Alvarado
Short,
against
hold it,
Luis
hold it,
Moreno
short.
to a completely one-sided rivalry with Luis Moreno dominating Nadia Alvarado Jr., including an exhibition match win, Dave, in
Second serve.
one of your favorite spots, Anchorage, Alaska, just a couple of weeks ago.
They actually played the pro format of 25-25-25, but it didn't go to that last set as Luis Moreno took down Nadia Alvarado 25-17 in both games.
And what is it, Dave, that you love so much about Anchorage and the people there and the handball community?
Well, they just love the sport of handball.
4
And anybody
plays
that loves
10.
handball, I love.
Well said.
My dog loves handball.
I know that you had an ongoing discussion about best handball community in the United States.
Well, I think Anchorage qualifies. That's a nice shot right there from
Side out.
Emmett Peixoto.
Now, do you consider New York City one wall, all one community, or do you break it down into 5 boroughs
10
as 5
plays 4.
separate communities?
Exactly.
5 separate,
Yes.
okay? Because you'd have to say that if you include all of New York City and all 5 boroughs in that discussion, they'd have to win. But since you're breaking into 5 separate boroughs, maybe it's not so clear.
I don't think it's much of a community if you don't know players in other boroughs. I mean, you talk to players down here, Ricky Ruiz and Samson Hernandez, and they say, you know, there's the Del Oro courts, and they say, oh, I've never even heard of them.
4 plays 10.
That means there's a whole series of 200, 300 players that they don't even know that play on those courts. It's hard to say that I group in SoCal as one community. You would say, you know, certain court structures, or, you know, you look at New York and you're talking about the boroughs, so I would certainly think that each borough counts as a community of players.
Yet when you have tournaments for money, you see the same exact players at every event, and the same 4 players in the semifinals, and the same guy winning the event.
But if
10
you're in a
plays
community,
4.
you pretty much know everybody in the community. Score here is 10-4 still. This has been about 10 minutes stuck on the same score line. A lot of side outs. This is going to end that drought, though. As Emmett gets the point with that left hand, it's usually automatic.
For all the matches that we've seen thus far today, Dave, Emmett is hitting the ball
11 plays
by
4.
far the hardest of any of the players that we've seen today with his left hand. I'd say Emmett's left-handed power right now, Dave, has completely dominated the power department thus far today. We thought it was Aaron Garner earlier with that amazing, powerful right hand, but Emmett's out hitting the incredibly muscular Texas hunk.
Four plays 11.
Aaron looking to the right wall. I like that serve if you can get it in.
Well, I agree with you. It doesn't matter what handed you are. If you hit that Z serve parallel with the back wall, there's just not much that you can do with it. And he capitalized on the weak Emmett Peixoto return.
The problem is if you miss it, it usually results in a side out. So you have to be particular. See, he missed that one right there, Dave.
Well, I think that's the worst serve that you can serve Emmett, is a power serve that comes off that left side wall. That's Emmett's favorite shot.
And if you listen to Emmett right there, he said bad serve. You probably won't see that one from Aaron again.
You would hope so, but I have a feeling Aaron will go back to that serve. That's a serve that he hits quite a bit.
Well, when your opponent kills it in front of you and says bad serve, I don't know if you'll go back, but we'll see.
Hold it, hold it.
Emmett is enjoying himself in there right now.
12 plays 5.
Aaron Garner saying that he's going to start making more of a commitment to go to these events.
Point.
He's going to the NYAC event, Dave, at the end of March. His brother, a sponsored player of the Newark Athletic Club. Emmett Peixoto actually has a 3-round boxing match at the NYAC on Thursday night, Dave. That's at 9 p.m. Alan Garner will be refereeing that super middleweight race for 8 championship match. Aaron Garner will be one of the judges ringside.
And tell me more about this. Will there be face headgear? Will there
Oh,
be
there's no headgear. No.
fist? Just straight?
Marcos.
Boxing match with gloves.
Oh, with gloves. Okay.
10-ounce gloves.
Sorry, I didn't mean it sound like I've offended you by asking these questions.
Well, you know that if you're fighting above the welterweight limit, you have to use 10-ounce gloves. You can only use 8-ounce gloves if you're fighting at
Resuming
147 or below. I know that you knew
Third
that.
team plays 5.
And clearly Emmett and I aren't 147 pounds
Short.
or below.
Second serve. Side out.
I'm not sure if you're flying into webcast that championship bout or not.
I was
but
thinking about
5
riding my
plays
bike.
13.
You'd have to get started pretty soon.
Oh.
Aaron nearly running that ball down. Sprinted towards the back wall there, but unable to make the retrieve.
Third team plays 5.
And
Short.
surprisingly, Dave, thus far we have not seen competitive qualifier finals here. We saw
Second
a number
serve.
of very competitive qualifier semifinal matches that were dark matches, but since the cameras started rolling, Dave, we've seen fairly uncompetitive blowout matches, starting with Chip Morales defeating his former Missouri State teammate
14 plays 5.
25-12. Then it was Vic Perez defeating his sparring partner, Carlos Chavez, 25-16, and then Marcos Chavez easily defeating John Bike 25-10. So this, Dave, was billed as the deepest qualifier draw of the year. It very well might be. That's up for debate, but the scores have not necessarily showed that this is the deepest qualifier field.
5 plays 14.
It's probably true. Some of these scores in the earlier rounds, though.
I tend to think, Dave, that the Plumber
out.
might have been the most difficult qualifier. Maybe not as deep, but you had Charlie Shanks qualifying there, Dave. Luis Cordova, who's now in the top 8.
14
Desi
plays 5.
Keegan, who made a one-time appearance on the Race for 8 Pro Tour, and a very healthy John Bike
3
also
minutes.
qualifying there, Dave. Those are 4 top names in the sport. Obviously here, though, Dave, you'll have Chip Morales, who's already qualified, Emmett Peixoto, who looks like he's going to qualify, a former #1 ranked pro. Marcos Chavez has qualified, a former top 5 pro. And, of course, the rising star, Vic Perez, who not only qualified in the last stop, but knocked off Charlie Shanks. So hard to go wrong with that lineup. All great players.
You are watching the WPH Simple Green Race for 8 Los Angeles Athletic Club. Emmett Peixoto trying to qualify here to get back in and potentially go to Seattle. Now, he's had some success in Seattle. The Players' Championship will be held there May 18th and 19th, right here in 2012. And it looks like it's going to be another great event, as they're already taking seats, selling them, and reserving hotel rooms in Seattle, Washington at the historical Washington Athletic Club. Emmett Peixoto had success there, and he is also trying to get in. Now, essentially, Dave, there are 7 stops here that the players use as a qualifier of sorts. The top 8 players in the race standings, not the power rankings, but the race standings, will be invited to Seattle, and we'll find that out at the conclusion of this tournament, which one of those 8 will be invited. I know there won't be a online live streaming ceremony there, but we'll certainly try to.
Actually, there will be.
Okay, well, so we are going to do it then. That was my way of testing you to see if we will have that happen, and apparently we will. So that will take place on Saturday after Saturday Night Live. We'll know exactly who is standing where and who got eliminated. It could very well be Andy Nett. It could be Luis Cordova getting eliminated. Possibly they could even make it further in and get better seeds for the Players' Championship. Could we see Chip Morales get into the Elite Eight? Could we see Emmett Peixoto make it in there? These are going to be very difficult flips for those guys, but it potentially can happen. And then I also heard a rumor from the ranking committee that there wouldn't be necessarily double points awarded at the Seattle event, but certainly points and a half, and that could also shake things up for guys like Nadia Alvarado, Luis Moreno, Sean Linning, Charlie Shanks. Yours, guy sitting next to me here, Dave Fink. Your rankings could also be shaken up just a little bit, and you could have a chance to move from 5 in the race standings up, or 6 in the race standings, all the way up into the top 3. Is that a potential possibility if you did well there?
Potentially, depending on how the points are allocated. But my question for the committee is, do those ranking points, are those then added to your overall ranking points? Because the guys in that 9 through 12 range will fall way behind the top 8 as you go into next season, seeding that. And in order for a guy that just barely missed out on Seattle, say it's Chip Morales who missed out on Seattle by 1 point, he then can't play in Seattle. Is he then punished by a guy like Andy Nett, who will pick up a minimum of 5 points in Seattle just by participating there, for example, and then Chip is now left in a tournament that he wasn't able to play in from going 1 point behind to 6, which is the equivalent of 2 or 3 stops.
I see what you're saying, but certainly Chip might not be, able to do it, but it's from his own wrongdoing. This was something that basically we had 7 qualifiers, 7 tournaments for a chance to qualify for the race standings. Chip isn't being punished. He punished himself for not showing up to the Jake Plummer event. He punished himself for not showing up for Tucson. He could have gotten higher ranking points. I mean, I know these are all debatable issues, but certainly that is just another way of looking at it. We'll see how that all fares out. You're watching the WPH Simple Green Race for 8. We are live in Los Angeles at the Los Angeles Athletic Club. Want to thank Mintech for their sponsorship of this live broadcast and the Race for 8 tour. As we take a good look at Alan Garner in the background, you see Margie Peixoto holding on to Villy and Nadia Alvarado Jr.'s sister's baby.
The lovely Marjorie Peixoto, Dave, who's a wonderful mother. She loves kids. She loves holding babies. She raises Emmett and Courtney and her other son, Seth, and just loves everything about being a mother.
She did a wonderful job raising that family, and she's the anchor. And that family came down to watch their son Emmett play here today, along with Jim Peixoto and Courtney Peixoto, making a rare appearance. And Jim said that Courtney was on the court for the first time in, well, months after having shoulder problems. So if we can come back to that camera, Linda, here in the booth, wanted to show off that shirt right there. See that that logo? Mintech. They are the sponsor of the live broadcast that we're having here today, as well as all of the race stops. Want to thank them for phoning in their order, as you call it. They called in and said, we'd like to watch the live webcast on the overhead here at the office back in Tucson, Arizona. And we said, done. Our techies will get all over that. So Mintech, want to thank them for their sponsor.
All right, resuming play.
Sponsorship
Aaron
of this
serves.
live broadcast. And we're back in.
Play 15.
5 plays 15. It's Vic Perez as the referee. Aaron Garner serving in his red shirt. He will be fined $35 for not wearing an approved clothing, as well as Emmett Peixoto. So we made out on our Tahiti travel fund on this second half already.
My question is, do you incur a double fine when you actually change your shirt and change into another non-approved shirt? Does that become a $70 fine?
It's just 1 fine per.
Okay. So at this point, you might as well go in there and just wear whatever you want.
No shirt.
Right.
6 play 15.
I like how Emmett came over and just slapped $35 on the table in between games. I like when players take initiative, and you know that he's focused for this tournament when they do that. Always thinking.
We actually ran his credit card number.
Right.
Well, it was a debit card. It was the same as cash.
Aaron
7
Garner with a
plays
nice start here
15.
coming out of the halftime. Remember, it was Eric Kilgren who was losing 15-1 at halftime and actually came back in the second half and looked really good. We'll see Emmett take a timeout here, I believe. Eric Kilgren came back to trail just
8 plays
22 to
15.
14 at one point after trailing 15 to 1. Aaron Garner now scored 3 consecutive points, and that's that
Set
terrible
out.
serve that Aaron Garner's hit into Emmett's left hand, the ball coming into Emmett's body, and that's a shot that you'll never see Emmett miss. And I know that we never say never, so maybe I'll say that he only misses that about 1 out of every 100 attempts.
15 plays 8.
Or 1 out of every 16 times you say never, say never. Oh, and that was a terrible
Side out.
shot right there from Emmett Peixoto.
Emmett going into his clown routine a little bit there after that embarrassing mistake.
8 plays 15.
And I'm surprised that Aaron continues to go to that serve, and I'm surprised that his coach, top 4 WPH pro Alan Garner, wouldn't tell him to stay away from that serve. Alan Garner is one of the great strategic minds, Dave, in this game, and he knows that you don't give
9
Emmett
plays
Peixoto a look
15.
at a ball off the left side wall.
Score is 9 to 15. I know you've been working hard. It's hard for you here in the broadcast booth to call these matches and all of your other duties as a player's rep and the
Hold
lead
it.
referee
Replay.
for
Replay.
these tournaments, Dave. I know
Hold it. Hold it.
the referee's trying to get the attention here, but you have to assign all of the
I called
players
replay a long
for
time ago.
tomorrow's opening round at 10
There's
o'clock,
a-
and I
Like,
see that
you
you're
guys are
doing
really close over here somewhere.
you're working really hard on this.
Yeah.
I mean, is this something
Huh?
before the tournament starts that you line
No,
up
no, no,
by
I just called it.
contacting the
I
players?
called it
Yeah,
a long time
yeah,
ago.
that's set up well in advance.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is a
You guys- yeah, you
professional
guys didn't hear me.
organization. We don't leave anything to
Yeah.
12 or 14
bad.
hours before a match starts to assign a referee.
Well, I know it should
Replay,
probably be
9
no
plays
mystery.
15.
Go ahead and let us know who's.
Actually, I
refereeing that.
won't go ahead and let you know that for competitive intelligence reasonings. We don't want
Reasonance, okay.
reasonings. We don't want referees receiving phone calls of bribery offers or whatnot for tomorrow's matches. So we have to hide
10
who is
plays
refereeing
15.
these matches so that they're not persuaded.
So you do know who is
Yes.
starting the 10 o'clock match?
Yes.
Well, how fair would that be knowing that your
Okay.
match is being aired at
First,
10 o'clock
your
and you
first
know who
timeout
it
scores
is?
11-15.
Well, that's a confidence that I was sworn in as the pro player representative, and I was granted that type of trust by my players who voted unanimously for me to become that pro player rep.
So you're saying there's just double standard then?
I wouldn't call it a double standard when you were unanimously appointed the pro player rep, meaning that they implicitly trust me and my integrity.
Okay. Well, I did recall just hearing you say that it's held as a secret because you didn't want the players to know that there could be any type of.
No, I don't want the fans to know. If the fans find out who's refs, players start receiving text messages, hey, I've got my money on Garner plus 2.5. You know, could you make sure that that happens for me?
Okay.
Resuming play. 11 plays 15.
So in other words, that 10 o'clock match tomorrow will have a referee.
Yes.
It's already been established, even though it is a match that you're participating in. With a blind draw, you don't have any clue, quote unquote, who you're going to be playing in that opening
15
round.
plays
But yet you
11.
do know who the ref is because you're the player's rep and it's okay and that ball broke.
It did not break, and
No, it wasn't a skip. It was good. Short. It was short. Yeah, short.
not sure the players can hear the referee
Second
right
serve.
now, Dave.
I just wanted to clarify that. So we'll move to a different subject. Overhit from Emmett Peixoto and then driven down the
Side
left
out.
wall from Aaron Garner.
And this second half, Dave, has been a completely different match.
11 plays 15.
You talk about in the NBA, every team makes a run. Well, right now, Aaron Garner is making a run. And it's never a good sign for Emmett Peixoto fans when Emmett goes into that clown routine, which we saw him do when he lost that 8th point, missing that spike
Side out.
pass shot attempt. But now Emmett bounces back with a beautiful left-handed back wall
15
kill.
plays 11. Point.
And a slight miss hit there from Emmett. But that's consecutive
16
left-handed
plays 11.
flat rollouts right off the middle of the front wall.
can see why Aaron Garner's upset with himself there, but Emmett actually broke a reverse down that wall with a left hand, and Aaron overplayed it because of that.
17 plays 11.
I think Aaron feels that this is within reach, Dave, but every time he gets close, Emmett does that and goes on a couple-point run.
Well, that's a big shot for Emmett's confidence level as he's able to kill a right-handed fadeaway from 36 feet. That's a shot that he wasn't able to hit a couple of months ago or
Short.
in the last couple of years.
Short. Peel. They both agreed.
Now, when it comes to the blind draw, Dave,
Second serve.
is it better to have someone like, let's say, Charlie Shanks, who's the 5th seed in this tournament? Does he pull the name of the qualifier?
Well, the way we've done it is the first player that qualified
Point.
picks first. That would be Chip Morales. There are no conflicts there. So he'll pick his first round opponent.
All right.
And then the
timeout?
second qualifier,
Okay.
which
It's
was
your second timeout.
Vic Perez, will then pick, followed by Marco Chavez, followed by Emmett Peixoto.
If Emmett were to go on to win this, which
Right.
he's 6 points away and Aaron Garner is
19-11.
14 away, and certainly we could see that happen. You're watching the WPH Simple Green Race for 8 live here at the Los Angeles Athletic Club, where we have Emmett Peixoto, former #1 ranked pro, up against Aaron Garner, brother of Alan, for this match. You're watching the live feed courtesy of Mintech in Tucson, Arizona. Simple Green, World Players of Handball, on the scoreboard, powered by Zions, the official sports drink of the UFC. This is a timeout called right now. We appreciate the fact that you've tuned in to this broadcast.
All right,
They
resuming
say it's going
play.
to rain tomorrow here in Los Angeles, Dave, and I know you don't like the rain.
19 plays 11.
They say the courts get a little wet, and I'd like to discuss that slide serve rule once again, and there's a side out as Emmett hits that ball into the ground once again. Dave, what we did see a crazy slide. It was a short ball, but what happens if that happens during the serve?
11 plays 19.
On the ground, a slide that actually slides on the ground. It should be replayed. No, the reason why I bring it up is we heard some stories from the past where a player will purposely get the ball wet before they serve the ball. You wouldn't want that sort of thing to start
19
happening
plays
if you're able
11.
to play all the slides.
Well, that's
Point.
when it becomes a gentleman's game and you expect players to uphold that integrity of the
20
gentleman's
plays
sport.
11.
Personally, I have not seen players going to that extreme. Although
Well,
you see players.
Howie Eisenberg, named into the Hall of Fame, was telling me about how that used to happen a lot in New York.
Well, I truly believe that there's a different element when you're playing outside, more of a street ball element that you don't necessarily see inside. And I'm not saying
Nice
that
spot.
all the guys that play outside play that way, but I think there is an element to that. Just like if you were to play street ball basketball, you'll see more arguing and more fouls, harder fouls than you would maybe in an athletic club.
21 plays 11.
Although I've seen a lot of clotheslines on uncontested layups in athletic clubs, also in basketball, but I'm not a big fan of basketball, so maybe not a good analogy. I was a fan of Linsanity until the fraud was up
Until Carmelo Anthony came off the injured reserve.
and ruined everyone's life, including his coaches. It's funny because Carmelo seems like a good guy. He says the right things. He's a prolific scorer, yet he
Hold
just
it.
seems to make his
Replay.
teams worse. How do you explain that?
There it is.
I mean, Dave, you're a prolific announcer. You say all the right things, and you make your announced team better as a result. Now, Carmelo Anthony, on the other hand, scores his 30 points a game,
Now, okay.
says the right things. He's a team guy, and yet he just makes his teams worse.
I can't really explain it.
Well, neither could Mike D'Antoni. That's why he's on the golf course right now and not on the bench at Madison Square Garden.
Watching the WPH Simple Green Race for 8. This is a one-game match to 25. Last broadcast of the day. And we say it should conclude about 6 o'clock Pacific time. It's 5:45 here.
21 plays 11.
The Great Pacific Southwest.
Short.
That means I've been up for just about 17 hours. Got a 4 a.m. wake-up call
Second
this
serve.
morning to be sitting next to my esteemed broadcast partner.
4 a.m. would be like 1 a.m. here on the Pacific Coast.
Point.
And that was a beautiful shot with Emmett Peixoto, as you live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I mean, we can't even tell
22 plays
that
11.
you're under this distress of having no sleep, because your first words are just as good as your last.
Point.
My analogy, though, of aiming for the lines during rallies
23 plays 11.
might have
That was a low
said
point.
otherwise.
Short.
Well, you're in a runner's high now. That
Okay.
was a low point.
I hit the wall there.
Second serve.
That wasn't your best analogy.
Side out.
And Emmett Peixoto's getting rounds of applause now for mishitting balls off the back wall. And that has to be frustrating for Aaron Garner, who wants to have a match here. And this sideshow is starting to take off.
Well, I believe that Emmett
Elev-
doesn't even
11
really
plays
know that he's
23.
doing that, particularly when he's winning big. But it can be a little bit aggravating to an opponent. But I don't think this is a good showing here, Dave, for Aaron Garner. I didn't necessarily think he had a great chance to win here today, although I did give him somewhat of a chance. But Aaron Garner would have to feel a little
12
bit
plays
better if he was in that
23.
20 to 22 point range, losing to Emmett, but
Point.
being left on 13 or possibly 14 will not be a very uplifting or confidence
13
building
plays
experience
23.
here for Aaron Garner. But you know, Dave, you need that tournament seasoning, and you need to be playing these guys in tournament competition before you start to really become comfortable and become a threat. I don't see anybody just walking into these events, Dave, and taking down big names. Now, you remember Andy Nett started his pro career
14
circa
plays
2008,
23.
really wasn't winning any matches for at least a year, 2 years, and then finally he had that breakthrough late last year into this year.
Good
And
point.
that's kind of what you see with these pro level players. I mean, all
15 plays 23.
even the greats have all gone through it, Dave. John Bike came up, couldn't get out of the round of 16. Paul Brady came over for years before he could defeat Paul Brady and, or
Timeout.
excuse me,
It's
Dave
your second
Chapman
timeout.
and John
1 minute.
Bike.
And a smart call, timeout call
Score
from Emmett Peixoto
16,
right there.
23.
At 16 to 23 now being called, as Aaron just had 11 points, and now he runs off 5 straight. And Emmett calls that timeout and says, you know, let's stop this momentum, because whatever Aaron's doing now is completely working. It's a one-game match to 25. You have to win by 2. Emmett Peixoto and his family watching courtside. There's Jim Peixoto next to Nate Alvarado Sr., who's here to watch the finals of this qualifier. Margie Peixoto courtside, as well as Courtney. Paul Godina, the tournament sponsors, here watching the wrap-up of this qualifier here at the Los Angeles Athletic Club. And then the big show happens tomorrow, as these 4 players will be put in with the Elite 8 to make the top 12. There's different tiers here. First of all, if you win the qualifier, that's a great
Resuming
thing.
play.
But to be named
16
into the
plays
rare top
23.
12 is important. But then getting into the Elite 8 is equally as important. And another point for Aaron Garner.
A complete lapse in concentration
17
combined with
plays 23.
some really good play from Aaron Garner. Aaron Garner's now scored 6 unanswered points.
I like that shot from Aaron.
Sometimes, Dave, when you're playing for self-respectability, as I think Aaron is right now, he doesn't want to go home having scored just 11 points, and he starts to really push here, trying to get
Set out.
himself into a range where he can at least
the
hold
door.
his head high. And Emmett Peixoto just sort of thinking already about tomorrow, almost conceding that this match is over in his mind, and
23
now
plays 17.
he leads by just 6. And we've seen comebacks bigger than this, Dave, in this format.
This will be a revolving door shot.
And that's where experience, I believe, Dave, plays such a pivotal role. Is Aaron Garner just not with enough tournament match experience to be able to convert those kind of opportunities late in a game when he needs to convert all those opportunities to climb back in.
24 match point, serve 17.
This is match and game. Emmett could have it here, Dave.
And he
goes for it
does.
and gets it.
Emmett has to feel good about closing out that match with a beautiful right-hand back wall rollout, Dave. And Emmett's our 4th qualifier. He's qualified now 4 stops in a row, starting with Fresno. And he's working his way back into that elite rarefied air known as the top 8.
Now, Dave, would you like to do the ceremony on the court with the referee's microphone? Just walk into the court and actually do this ceremony now as we stay here and watch you. Yes, okay, let's go ahead and do that. Dave Fink will step onto the court and do the qualifier ceremony live on the show court here. Emmett Peixoto will go right back to that show court, as well as the other players. Earlier today, it was Chip Morales downing Eric Hilgren 25-14. Vic Perez over Carlos Chavez to qualify 25-16. Marco Chavez defeats John Vike 25-10. And Emmett Peixoto taking down Aaron Garner 25-17. So our 4 qualifiers are Chip Morales, Vic Perez, Marco Chavez, and Emmett Peixoto. They will be playing either Charlie Shanks, David Fink, Andy Nett, or Luis Cordova. Dave Fink will be getting the wireless mic, heading out to the show court and doing the blind draw ceremony right there. Now, of course, Dave Fink is one of the players that could and will be placed against a blind draw player. So I'm sure that's probably an awkward feeling for him to be on the court to find out who his opponent will be. But that blind draw ceremony is being organized right now by Dave Fink, who is gathering up those qualifiers that we mentioned earlier. Chip Morales, Vic Perez, Marco Chavez, and Emmett Peixoto. Again, they will be facing the number 5 through number 8 seeds in the bracket that will be kicked off tomorrow at 10 a.m. with the Dave Fink versus one of these blind draw players. Hey, who are the people we can draw?
Andy Nett.
You see Dave Fink talking to some of the players here. Andy Nett, Luis Cordova, Charlie Shanks, and Dave Fink will be the players that will be up against the blind draw qualifiers. Now we have 3 of the 4 qualifiers on the court right here, with Marco Chavez not in the court at this moment, but currently, of course, we have Chip Morales, Emmett Peixoto, and Vic Perez. This is usually a different sort of celebration that we have here. Here's Marco Chavez, and let's go ahead and face the camera with the guys down there with Dave Fink going courtside. Let's go to him right now. Let's go to Dave Fink, who is going to do the blind draw ceremony right now.
All right, guys. First of all, congratulations on making it through the qualifier today, all 4 of you. Really dominating performances. For those of you who've qualified before, you guys know the drill. Marcos, what we do here is you're going to pick one name out of this hat, and that'll be who you're playing tomorrow morning. Now, Chip, you're our number 1 seed here in this qualifier. You qualified first. You're going to pick the first name.
Chip Morales
Chip
pulls.
Morales will be playing Luis Cordova.
Nice. Cordova's the 7th
Vic,
seed.
you're our second qualifier. Go ahead and pick. No, you qualified second. Andy Nett and Marcos, you and I. Because he can't play me because we played in the last tournament. And you can't have repeat matchups. Yeah. I can't wait.
Okay, so
Marcos is playing me. Emmett's playing Andy Nett.
Emmett versus Andy Nett tomorrow. Dave Fink versus Marco Chavez here in the blind draw. You'll have the whole draws available at r2sports.com and posted there within the next 2 minutes. We want to thank everybody for watching this broadcast day. It's Chip Morales versus Luis Cordoba. Vic Perez will be against Charlie Shanks. Dave Fink versus Marco Chavez, and Emmett Peixoto versus Andy Nett. And I believe that Shanks played Vic prior, but I could be wrong. Let's see what goes on here.
Okay, here you go. You can play either guy. So Emmett, you're next.
I'm next, actually.
Oh, sorry, get out of there. I've screwed up everything. I'm sorry. I got up at 4 in the morning.
So we found out there was a conflict with Charlie Shanks playing.
Who has the Charlie?
Charlie Shanks
Who
playing
has Charlie Shanks?
Vic,
I do.
Vic Perez.
Give me a break. We have 2 names in here, please.
I pulled Andy Nick.
You just pulled it?
Yeah, I just pulled it right now.
No, there was only 1 name in the hat.
I know, this
No,
is the
you
one I
can't do
pulled.
that. You can't do that. No, you can't do that. No.
All right. Who do I play now?
No, he has to pick. And
I
then,
had to pick, but I picked Andy Nick. Who did you draw?
all right. No. You scrumpled it all up.
So he gets Charlie or Andy Nick, and he gets to choose?
Yeah.
Did he crumple them all up?
No, I know. I know what he's
Put
trying
the
to
hat
do.
up here.
I'm doing it. It's getting up there. I apologize. I've screwed this up. I'm sorry. What can I say? It's not my best moment.
This is completely
pick.
messed up, and I'll tell
Close
you what
your eyes.
happened later.
There's only one in there.
No, there's 2. Don't.
I'm trying to feel for the other one. He's feeling around.
So there's nothing. No, you can't feel anything. No. Here, you can find out who yours is too.
I'm like David Blaine. What did you do? I can't even open it.
Oh, you'll figure it out. All right.
So Chip,
You're playing Shanks.
I'd like to get a rundown of actually who's playing with who. It's probably the most confusing blind draw I've ever seen. I think Dave Fink would have done better if he were blind than the way he did it here. If we can get Omar Lemus to tell Dave Fink to actually give us the, if we can get one of those cameramen or an associate to get with Dave Fink so we can find out who the actual matchups are. We can go to Dave Fink right now as we find out who those matchups are. I did not hear what they were.
Announce.
No, they can hear it on the TV.
Announce to everyone out here.
I was on the TV. Why couldn't
No, the TV doesn't work, and they hear it on the internet.
Okay, let's go to
No, I
Dave
know,
Fink
this mic
now,
doesn't go out to the
Omar,
court.
and
I'll
ask
tell
him
you right
for
now.
the rematch,
Well,
the matchups here.
After the blind draw, we have Marco Chavez playing Charlie Shanks. Emmett Peixoto is playing Andy Nett. David Fink is playing Victor Perez. Chip Morales is playing Luis Cordova.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
You're welcome. I completely screwed everything up in there. I admit it. I was flustered. I got up at 4 a.m. today, Eastern Standard Time. That's 1 a.m. here. 1.
Dave Fink is always the life of every party. Okay, so we look
Matches
at the
start at
matchups
10 a.m. Pacific Time tomorrow, so make sure you tune in racefor8live.com. See you then.
here. Dave Fink is has messed even up that that portion up as well. It's actually racefor8.com, but Dave Fink will be playing at 10 o'clock tomorrow versus Vic Perez. That'll be at 10 a.m. And then we have Marco Chavez and Charlie Shanks, Andy Nett, Emmett Peixoto, and Luis Cordova and Chip Morales. That was one of the strangest blind draw ceremonies I've ever seen. We're going to wrap up this broadcast day. So glad we waited around for that. We'll have more action tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Tell your friends. As we get into the top 12, we'll break into the Elite 8 and find out who will be the race champion at the LAAC race stop number 7. As we have more action tomorrow, the WPH Simple Green Race for 8. We're going to say goodbye for right now. Thank you. Big thanks out to Linda Manning, who worked really hard this morning to get the internet back up. as well as Omar Lemus, Dave Fink, Ashley Moeller, and yours truly, Dave Vincent. We'll talk to you tomorrow here at racefor8.com.
My name is Bruce Fabrizio. In 1975, I invented Simple Green based on 3 principles. It had to be safer to use, it had to work, and it had to be completely made in America. From generation to generation, Simple Green has been cleaning everything from car engines and tools to kitchen counters and floors. No matter what you clean, indoors or outdoors, clean it with non-toxic, biodegradable Simple Green.
For 20 years, the Inner City Handball Association has educated, mentored, and served young people through handball. Young people that participate in the Inner City Handball Association programs have a high graduation rate from high school and continue on to college. Inner City Handball teams are good athletes, good students, and good ambassadors for the sport of handball. We need your help to continue our work. Inner City Handball Association is a registered 501c3 tax-exempt charity. Please donate today. Thank you.
Working and working out takes a lot of energy. That's why I drink Zenergy. Feeling fantastic and looking good has never been easier. Science, extreme science for your active lifestyle.
It's time to join forces. Get energized and fuel up right. Because starting today, every kid in America has a mission. Bring out the action hero in you. Be part of the greatest action movie ever. The first movie that puts you in the action. Show us how you train and eat like an action hero. Join in at actionheroalliance.com.